Welcome to Scorched Earth and a general reading for the sign of Scorpio, Sun, Moon or Ascendant for the month of March. I hope you will. Using the Llewellyn Tarot for you today. Here it is. What do I have to tell you? There will be an extended at the end of this reading if it resonates with you and you want to go a little bit deeper. Noise. There'll be a link in the description box. You can follow that. And equally, the 6-month overview for each of the signs is still available. That's obviously running from January to June. There's a link in the description box for that too. So if you're interested, go check it out. Let's have a look, see what's going on with you, Scorpio. I have 3 cards for Scorpio, please. So, in your recent past, the Ace of Cups. In your current energy for Scorpio, please. Ooh, we have 2 cards. We have the High Priestess and we have the 5 of Pentacles. That's interesting. And then what's coming towards Scorpio in March, please? Right, I'm going to fess up here. This is actually the second time that I've started this reading. I got about 10 minutes into it and it got a bit convoluted and weird, and I was just like, because I like, I don't edit my videos at all, right? They always just come out in one go, and I was like, have I maybe lost the thread a little bit here? I will restart. I have to tell you, all but one of these cards has already been out, and I'm including the shadow cards here. So I'm feeling like the thread of where I was going was possibly right, but it was getting a little bit convoluted and nuanced and whatnot. So we're going to go with it. We've got the 8 of Pentacles at the bottom of the deck. That is, it's work, right? But it's working at something until you achieve mastery. Now, we could extrapolate from that this is a reading that does, indeed have something to do with your career or your employment or your work or something like that. But, there are other ways to work at things. There are other ways to invest your time. And given the cards that have come out here, it would be daft of me to... It's funny though, they come out the other way around. This is interesting. Totally interesting for me as a reader anyway. Let's shuffle this deck again and have a look and see what comes out. Because we're... actually, do you know what? No, let's not prejudge anything. Let's just get the cards out. So tell me about this Ace of Cups. Why is this here for Scorpio, please? 10 of Pentacles. And the 8 of Swords. Tell me about the High Priestess and 5 of Pentacles, please. Yeah, this is interesting. And tell me about 2 of Cups and the Ace of Swords, please. Oh. Right. Oh, fuck it. Let's go with it. So we've got the Tower at the bottom of the deck here. The Tower is actually your energy, right? That's how I read it. It can sometimes be Aries, but I think, blowing shit up is kind of a Scorpionic thing to do rather than an Aries thing to do. So I always associate it with you. The Tower is very sudden, shocking energy, right? It's card number 16. And of the major arcana, and it's usually energy that kind of sideswipes you with something, right? And so this can be things like huge life events like job losses, or something happening to your house, or that sort of thing. But it's not the terrible card that everybody kind of fears it is when you look at it. And I mean, it does look pretty terrifying, right? I see this as a course correction. And I have to say, for me, my biggest Tower moments have always just been a thought that I had, and usually while I was doing the washing up or something like that. And once I've had that thought, once I've made that connection, it's like a tower falls in my head and I cannot see the world the same way that I did before. Right? It's profound. And I honestly have to say that I feel like this Tower moment is an internal one. It is a mental one for you, right? It is an understanding of something. So in your recent past, we've got the Ace of Cups. Now that is a card of the new. Obviously, it's an ace, right? It contains the full potentiality of the suit of cups, which deals with emotion. Now, this is something that Scorpios wish that they didn't have to deal with, but actually you do, because you are cursed with the ability to feel to a deeper level than pretty much any other sign, right? But it talks about openness to new things. So this can be like new love, and that can be, you know, of a person or of a situation or of a group of people, or it can be a renewal of that. And in both instances, it can be a love for yourself. Yeah. Now, the thing that strikes me is that in the previous reading, there was some notion of commitment being an issue, right? So for some of you, there was an absolute refusal to commit. And what appeared to be happening was that you were in a period of contemplation about a previous relationship. Like you'd kind of put a lot of things together and had some realizations about, you know, what you brought to the table, what they brought to the table. And in some part, taking responsibility for your bit in why that relationship failed, right? Because the Two of Cups did come out in the reverse in that reading. This feels a little bit different, but there's thematically there are similarities, right? Because this Ten of Pentacles and the Eight of Swords, they both came out in reverse. Now, the Ten of Pentacles talks about commitment, right? It talks about longevity. You don't get 10 pentacles without it taking a while to accrue all of those pentacles, right? It is about being truly committed to something and building it, right? No shortcuts. And so we can see it being, well, sometimes business, we can see it sometimes being, you know, the home as it is, or it can be those really important relationships around us, or it can just refer to, you know, an act of commitment, an act of wanting to build. And then we've got the Eight of Swords. Now, the Eight of Swords this way around talks about being trapped inside your own mind, right? Feeling limited, feeling frustrated, feeling like you don't have anywhere to go. When it comes out in the reverse, it's about coming away from that. And so there's an openness having occurred here, right? An openness up to something emotionally here. But it seems to revolve around your refusal to commit, right? In a healthy way, right? So for some of you, you are rocking this kind of non-commitment vibe, right? That's the thing. But for other Scorpios, there's a level of over investment, over commitment, right? Where it becomes something approaching codependency. We've got the Devil card here. And it's possible that what you've experienced is some insight into the way that you experience emotion, right? The way that you show up emotionally. And, you know, cups are very receptive. Very, very receptive. We're talking about potential here. And I wonder if the insight that you've had recently is into why your type of commitment is a little bit toxic, or why your lack of commitment is a little bit toxic. You know, sort of getting to the root of why it is that you show up emotionally in the way that you do. It would certainly explain the presence of the Tower, because when you see these things, it's like, oh shit. You know, that kind of insight into yourself is sometimes a little bit destabilizing, because you see the world differently, you see that relationship differently, you see yourself differently, and that can be a bit hard to process sometimes. Tell me about this Ten of Pentacles in reverse, please. Thank you. We've got the Judgment card, and it does certainly then suggest to me that this is an old relationship that you've been mulling over. More for that, thank you. The Knight of Cups, how you gave your emotion in that, or how you didn't, which is possible, you know. Scorpios quite enjoy the thrill of the chase, and you've got that slightly obsessive side to you. But you're very, very aware that you have it, and sometimes it kind of catches you by surprise, and so you end up in a relationship where suddenly there are feelings where you had not intended to have feelings. And we've covered this before, you know, where Scorpios always seem to have some sort of childhood trauma that causes them to slam shut emotionally, right? Emotion equals pain to Scorpios a lot of the time. And so when you meet someone and they get under your defenses and suddenly you have feelings and you weren't actually wanting to have feelings, you were just, you know, passing the time, having a bit of fun, that can be really terrifying, actually. I mean, probably terrifying for a Scorpio. So we've got here this Judgment card, looking at a past situation, a past way in which you gave your cup to someone else. And it seems like you've had a number of realizations about it. Right? Not the least of which that, you know, that commitment is difficult, right? In whatever sense, whether it's not committing or over-committing. But the good news is here that we've got the page of the Knight of Pentacles, and I feel like that's actually quite a good thing there, because it's very slow moving. The Knight of Pentacles, and for me it talks about understanding the value of something. So it's possible that you've been in reflection, you've kind of had these epiphanies about why it is that commitment is an issue, whether it's overcommitment or, you know, no commitment, whatever it is. And there seems to be a level of resolution in you about changing that, shifting that a little bit, but not in a big flary dramatic way, in a way that actually wishes to produce results, like tangible, measurable results, because that's what the Knight of Pentacles is about here. And for a lot of you, that involves actually accepting that that you are worthy of love, that you are lovable. Right? A lot of Scorpios that I know would utterly reject that as a thing, you know. And for some of you, even judging people who fall in love with you. You know, the word naive came through when I was doing the previous reading, and that did not feel like you. Like, nobody can really accuse a Scorpio of being naive about anything. It felt like that was how you felt this other person had come into the relationship. And so maybe you were judging them a little bit for that. Maybe realise you did them a little bit of a disservice in that way. Who knows? So where we are in your current energy, we've got the High Priestess and the Five of Pentacles, and that I find really, really interesting, because it is followed by the Page of Swords and the Hermit. And these all fit together really, actually rather beautifully, because the High Priestess is all about inner wisdom, inner knowledge, right? Which is, you know, wisdom is the application of knowledge. But it's very much about your internal space. And what is it that you are getting some internal wisdom about? It is about the Five of Pentacles. It's about the way in which your needs are not met. And I don't think these are needs that are not met by other people. They're needs that are not met by yourself. And that seems to be what you're understanding, you know. For those of you who overinvest in relationships, it is because you are looking to fill that gap in yourself with someone else, like with their validation, you know, whatever it is. But this toing and froing that is sometimes how you do things, Scorpio, where you go all in, you know, and it's intense as fuck, and then suddenly you panic and you just snap shut and you stop and you pull back, you know, and people are just like, what the fuck just happened? And they don't appreciate the nuances of what is going on inside you. And for others of you, like I've seen so many Scorpios who are completely dismissive of the power of connection, of the power of, you know, intimate relationships and stuff like that, whilst simultaneously, to me, I can see it really clearly, craving exactly that. Right? But the self-sabotage kicks in and they're like, no, don't want it, equals pain, you know. I would rather keep my, you know, my relationships surface. Thank you very much, apart from a few choice friends. And be done with it that way. This Five of Pentacles talks about lack. It can talk about abandonment issues. It can talk about poverty. But it feels like an internal poverty, and it feels like something that's really come into your consciousness now. It's something that you are aware of, why it is that you crave the very thing that you won't allow yourself to have, that sort of thing there. But with these two, right, we've got the Hermit, who talks about going within, and just like the High Priestess, these are cards of sitting with yourself and trying to work out the answers to what is going on within you. But then we have this Page of Swords. Now, Page of Swords is looking backward too. Right? As the cards sit on my table, he's looking at the past. His feet are angled towards the future. His sword's up at the future, but his head is in the past. And it feels to me like you're really wrestling with this, Scorpio. You're really trying to make sense of it all. And I genuinely don't feel like in your mind there's the slightest idea about going back to this old relationship. But it is one that seems to have travelled with you for a while, right? You may not have seen this person in a number of years, but something about the relationship and the way the relationship affected you has not been something that you've been able to stick in a box and just forget about. It's just been there, because your subconscious mind keeps revisiting it, because you know that there are answers there. You just haven't been able to see them up until this point. So the Page of Swords for me is about mental expansion, right? It's about joining the dots with things. It feels a lot like looking for the lessons of the past. Right now, I'm gonna pull this Page of Swords. Oh, yeah. So we have an interesting set of cards there. We've got, for a start, the Magician in reverse. Now, best case scenario for that card is disempowerment. The worst case scenario is an understanding of just how manipulative you can be sometimes, right? It feels like you see that sometimes. And maybe you've always known it, right? You just got a way of making people do what you want them to do. But maybe you couldn't quite manipulate this person in the way that you wanted. Maybe because they weren't open to the manipulation, or maybe because actually the desire to manipulate wasn't there. And that might be the thing, the real thing, that's actually got your attention about this. Like, this is the reason why you can't put it down. You couldn't treat this person the way you treated other people, and why? What does it mean? Like, what's it about? It's a real journey of self-exploration here, Scorpio. I love it. The cards that came out, very, very interesting indeed, because they were the Page of Pentacles in reverse and the Ace of Pentacles in reverse. And both of these cards talk about new starts for me, right? They talk about starting again with something. Now, because it's Pentacles, it's about effort, right? And we've already seen here that you had that Ten of Pentacles in reverse. Like, committing to something in that past was difficult for you, in whatever way, whether you overcommitted to it or whether you undercommitted to it, right? But this feels like an inability to move forwards. And it's come out with the Devil. And it feels like until you nail exactly what the issue is here, right, you can't trust yourself not to do it again. And this is what I mean. I don't feel like you particularly want to go back to this relationship. But you understand that as the apex of experience, right? The one that contained the most extreme versions of your behavior. This was the one. Yeah. And you might be quite withdrawn at the moment. When a Scorpio's got a head full of things, they don't tend to go and mix with other people. So you might find yourself sitting at home and kind of contemplating shit. Maybe, I don't know, playing computer games, but finding your mind drifting, There are all sorts of ways that it could could happen, but there's definitely a sense of you kind of pulling back, withdrawing, and looking for the answers within you. Now, what's coming towards you is really quite interesting. And it makes me feel like the energy that you are sat in at the moment is a clearing energy, right? It is trying to get all of the answers from this old relationship to clear the decks, right? To increase the level of understanding that you have within yourself, for sure, right? But it's a clearing out of old energy, because that is always what the Tower signifies, right? And I shall tell you for why. Because what is coming towards you is the Two of Cups with the Ace of Swords, the Ace of Pentacles, and the Ace of Wands. You now have 4 aces on the table, every single one of them, right? You've been contemplating the Ace of Cups in the past, and that's important because that's the one that eludes you the most. Despite you having all the power with it, right? You know, Scorpio is often considered to be the most powerful sign in the zodiac. You know, sometimes it's jostling for position with Leo. And actually, you know, I'm going to whop Pisces in there because I don't think Pisces get anywhere near as much credit as they deserve for power, actually. We have a relationship coming towards you, Scorpio. Now, whether this is a business relationship or friendship, or whether this is a romantic relationship, difficult to tell at the moment. There are no cups beside the Two of Cups that are here, but maybe your emotions are all busy right there at the moment, right? But the Ace of Swords is about new insight, right? It is putting things together. It is often the truth, right? The Ace of Pentacles and the Ace of Wands deal with, you know, new starts in the material here, and this is new passion, new creativity, right? Sometimes it can talk about, you know, sexual desire and stuff like that. But as I'm speaking, actually, the fact that this has come up together with this, maybe it's the idea of a relationship, right? Having done all of this work, the idea of a relationship is now actually something that feels quite appealing because you know you'll do it differently, you know? Let's pull another couple of cards for that. Tell me about the Ace of Pentacles and the Ace of Wands, please. Well, fuck. I'm not taking all of those. I'll tell you what they are. We've got the Tower, we've got the Lover's card, we've got the Ace of Swords, Six of Swords, Strength, yeah, Two of Swords. Oh my god, there's fucking tons here. Right, let's put them all back in here. What I really like to see after the Tower card and after that really big, sudden ending of sorts, because it is an ending of sorts, you know, even if it's just a thought that you've had, that is an end to the way that you used to see things and the beginning of the way that you see them from now on. When the Tower energy comes in, it's because something needs to fall. It is always a blessing, although often it doesn't feel like that, right? It's removing things from your life that you don't need. Now, this relationship has kind of hung on to your heels for a long time because you didn't process exactly what the point of it was, right? And the point of it is nothing to do with the other person. It's about how you showed up in it. It's about how you responded. That's where the insights come. Yeah, and it feels to me in March that definitely the idea of a relationship is something that you are now entertaining more readily. And we've got these two other aces. Yes. Yeah, see, we've got the Two of Wands and the Magician. I think you're ready to start pulling that towards you. But I am concerned about the fact that the Ace of Cups is not reappearing here. We have in fact got the Seven of Cups there, which talks about confusion. It talks about sometimes illusion, you know. And then we've got the Four of Pentacles, which talks about holding on to something too tight. We've got the Hermit again, and we've got the Nine of Pentacles, which is a card of self-sufficiency and independence, you know. It is also a card of being the polar opposite of codependence, which is something that I like about it very, very much. But there seems to be a resolve in you Because you're pulling yourself to this crossroads, Scorpio. You're like, I actually want these new things. You know, I actually like the idea of a relationship. I am going to start, you know, making an effort to bring this towards me in some way or another. But the lack of the Ace of Cups bothers me a little bit. Maybe it doesn't need to come in straight away. Maybe things can be kept intellectual and sexual, possibly. With the Ace of Pentacles, you know, maybe you're combining it with a new approach to the way that you invest. Maybe it is an openness to investment, actually. But it seems like for now you're keeping the Ace of Cups inside you. And I think that's wise, actually, Scorpio. Now I look at this. Because you've got your own work to do. You're on with it. You've been doing it for sure. But the work is never done. And as long as you're not sitting on your Ace of Cups and refusing under any circumstances to give it to anyone, as long as that's not what you're doing, then there's no reason why being a bit discerning about what you do with your cup, there's no reason why it would be a bad thing. But with the energy of the Magician at play here, it's certainly indicating a level of focus about manifesting this for yourself. I'm looking at this Four of Pentacles, which is, you know, it's kind of like a hoarding energy. And I see you looking at that. It feels like this is the first step, actually. Even though it feels like you've done loads and loads of work, I think that this openness to the idea of a relationship actually cracks open a few more things. And this energy that you're in, and it is a hermit energy, you can expect this to continue for a little while. Because as you open to the possibility of doing, you know, X, Y, and Z, there are new things that are now starting to occur to you in your mind. And it's sort of pointing you towards other things that need fixing. But, you know, adjusting, understanding, something like that. But there's an acceptance of the power of a relationship here, which is something that you didn't have before. And so I think that this is progress. I think this is a really good thing. In any event, 4 aces on the table is pretty epic. So I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to go over to Vimeo now and pull this apart a little bit more, see if we can work out what these aces are about, what they're bringing in for you. So if you're interested in that, like I said, the link's in the description box, and come and join me over there. If not, know that I love you all very, very much, and I will see you soon.